Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast, a peek into the minds and strategies of the world's greatest copywriters, marketers, and persuasion experts. And now, here's your host, Brian Casangina.
Hi guys, welcome to another Geniuses of Copywriting podcast. It's a real privilege today to interview a guy who I first heard about. If some of you guys will be on this weekly Agora call that we get on once a week, and on that call, I've had some amazing insights. I've had some amazing speakers on there, and I've got some good friends who tune in every week. And one guy that I first saw on there is today's guest. His name's Kyle Milligan. He's one of the top copywriters at Agora. Kyle, I can't wait to find out how many millions you've written in promotions as all you guys seem to do over there. But what you were talking about on that call was really fascinating. I really wanted to have my listeners get into that, especially if they're interested at all in copywriting or persuasion, but not just the same old how-to stuff that everyone else teaches. You've got something with a difference. So that's really exciting for me. So thanks for coming on the call, Kyle. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. It's really cool to be here. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's go back to that call. I don't want to keep harping back to the Agora call, but this is where I found out some really interesting stuff, which I'm starting to use in my own copy now, about the language of copywriting.
Yeah. So should I just run with that?
Yeah.
So I'll talk about a little bit how I kind of got into this and how I figured it out a little bit. So first, I want to say, what's up, Copy Squad? Just it's your boy Kyle Milligan. It's like my usual sign on. And and to answer your earlier question, I grossed 7.1 million in 2018. So that was how many sales I brought in. I unfortunately didn't get to bring that home. But a lot of what this all stems from is when I got to Agora Financial, I had virtually no experience, and people ask me, like, how do I get an edge if I don't have any experience? Your guess is as good as mine, because I had no experience when I came in. And I just kind of, like, one of the things that I used early on, I'll just tell this really quick for the people out there who are always saying, I don't have enough experience. I basically just used whatever I had in my arsenal. I worked with what I had. Like, I had sales experience. I leaned on sales experience. I said I had psychology degree. I leaned on my psychology degree. I'm not even sure if I brought that up because they were so anti-school. Like, the attitude was like, you don't really need a job, or you don't need an education to get a job, or what the hell am I saying? A degree to get a job. So, but use what you have at your arsenal. You have experience, even if it isn't copywriting experience. Like, get in the door, and I asked the typical question, which is like, what book should I read? I've read The Boron Letters by Gary Halbert. I've read Ad-Week Copywriting Handbook by Joe Sugarman. And they're like, no, none of that. That's plenty. Like, don't read any more of those. Stop doing that. Now read about don't read about copy, read copy. And that was a big turning point for me. So all of a sudden, I'm no longer reading about copy. I'm no longer reading copywriting theory books. I'm just sitting there reading copy. And at first, you don't really understand what you're looking at or what you're looking for. And I had some help and some guidance on that. But what happened is I liken this to binging like a TV show where you kind of get the plot figured out, and you kind of find that the writers are a little lazy. Yeah. For me, it was like The Walking Dead. Like, I couldn't watch The Walking Dead after I binged like 2 seasons. I could never watch it again. I was like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to go down. And it was the kind of the same thing with binging all this copy. Instead of reading about copy, I just sat here and read all these promos that made all this money. And it's like, oh my God, they're just saying the same things over and over and over. And no matter what they were selling, how much it cost, it always came down to like, I just got to tell you that basically that this is a brand new thing, that it's super easy to use, or to like, basically I have a system that you can use, or it's just, you just place one trade, right? So it's a super easy mechanism to utilize. And it's safe in that it's credible. Like, other people are vouching for this, and it's vetted. And the last thing is that it's very big. So those are like the big 4 points I came up with. It's new, easy, safe, and big. And big has to be like something that's like, this is going to change the game. Like, your whole life is going to be different after you take advantage of this solution. So that was kind of like the development of that system.
So new, easy, safe, and big.
Yeah, NESB.
Yeah, NESB. Yeah, sounds good. So that's kind of the thing that's like the template that you apply to all copy. You touch all those four of those points, and you have a higher chance of a winner.
So, yeah, it's kind of one of those things too where I have to. One of the things I'd like to talk about too, is that people take it very literally, and it's not literally. What it is it's the emotional appeal that you have to make. So the templates are always like, headline, lead, body copy, and then the offer section.
Yeah.
And within each of those, like the headline I think is changing these days. It used to be that all the headlines had the 4 U's: urgent, unique, ultra specific, and useful.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing things don't have any urgency at all that are doing very well. And so those are kind of evolving. The lead, you got to make your big promise and you got to hype it up, right? That's the whole function of the lead. And the body copy, until you start telling them what you're selling them, is all objection, claim, proof, benefit. Objection, claim, proof, benefit.
Yeah.
That's what every section is. And then you get to the offer and you offer them something. You tell them what's inside. You offer them some testimonials. You give them some bonuses, and you sign off. You say, the choice is yours. You got to make this choice.
Yeah.
And then you sign off. So what you want to do is within that framework is you want to write the copy, and you can write it very boring or factual, which is sometimes I have to just get the words on the page.
Yeah.
But then you want to figure out, okay, I've said all these things. Now, how do I take that fact, that boring, dry, otherwise just piece of information, and make it sound like it's the newest thing that's ever happened, right?
Yeah.
So then you might take that line and say, well, in the last 3 months, we've seen this exciting trend or explosive trend, right? And CNBC says this is the most incredible thing we've ever seen. So right there, you have, this is a brand new thing. It just happened over the last 3 months. It's explosive. It's huge. And that's even CNBC says it. So if they say it's credible, it's safe. They've even the big media outlets have acknowledged it. And that's, we've talked about this a little bit before we started the call, was I don't believe copywriting is so much a how-to. I already gave you the how-to just a second ago, was headline, lead, body copy, offer. It's more of a language. It's a language that you speak. And just like if I want to communicate to you with any sort of English, German, Russian, whatever the language may be, the words will not always come out the exact same order, right? It won't be like the noun verbed or something. It won't be the red apple. It might be manzana roja, right?
Yeah. So
each language is kind of unique, but you're just communicating this apple is red, or I want to go get a cheeseburger, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not a how-to, right? You don't just place this here and then place that there and then place this here, and then all of a sudden you're persuaded. You have to know how to communicate, and that means speaking that specific copywriting language. And I think that's the whole message I really want to spread, is that there is no right or wrong way. As long as the words convey those emotions that something is new, easy, safe, and big, you can get a lot of people behind your idea. And like you say, it doesn't guarantee a winner, but it does heighten your chances for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's really interesting. So, so where do we go from there with the language of copywriting? How can we implement that in our copy?
I think what I would do first is I would start picking up how other people do it. Joe Schrafer is our publisher at Agora, and he always uses this line, he says, give me 5 hours. It's like an Abe Lincoln line. He says, give me 5 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend 4 of them sharpening the axe.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, if this new technique works for you, or you want to make it work for you, just read a couple of other promos. Basically what that line means, sharpening the axe, is doing the research and sharpening your skills or your wits, or building up your arsenal of materials, right? So my research process for any promo always goes the same way, where I'll find 5 promos that are selling something similar. I'll read them and I'll take notes, and I'll throw away 2 of those. And then I'll go super heavy in depth with the remaining 3 and like really go line by line. Like what did they say and why did they say it? And I'll throw away 2 of those. And then I've got left with my favorite 1, maybe 2. And my favorite 1, I'll model. I'll say, this is the guy that I want to be like when I grow up. I want to have a sales letter that is as cool as this sales letter. And I'll borrow all the things I learned from the other 4. So if you want to make new, easy, safe, and big work for you, I think one easy, fast way to do it is simply start recognizing it in other copy. Because another thing I preach is like, I'm not creative or clever. I am not a quote, quote, like master Jedi copywriter. Like I'm just a dude and this works. That's why I like it so much, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that what I would do is I'd find other examples of how other people are doing it in my niche for products similar to mine, you know? And I'd be like, oh, well, that's just like my product. I can explain that my product is new using a similar angle. And then you use the thing that makes your product unique and you kind of spin it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And would you say, because you guys at Agora Financial read so much copy, does your copy end up looking and feeling different from other people's? Or is that not noticeable? Or does that not even matter?
Does other people's copy seem different? What was the question? I don't remember.
Does your copy end up looking different? Like if someone was to look at your promo before it's launched, and you know, like you mentioned Joe Schriefer, who's the copy chief there, you know, he would look at everything before it's launched, and he would sort of get a gut feel of its chances of success. Does he notice differences between yours and everyone else's, or does that not matter? Just get it out there and see what happens. Like a different look or a different feel.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I mean, because that'd be what Joe's experience would be. I like to think I do have a bit of a unique look and feel about my stuff. I think everyone does too, and I know that when working with copy chiefs, I've worked with all the copy chiefs at Agora now, and it can be difficult to I've learned that one person cannot transmit exactly what they want to see in a sales letter into another person's brain.
Yeah.
So when one copy chief tells me to go do X, Y, Z, and I come back having completed X, Y, Z, and he looks at it, he's like, well, that's not what I thought it was going to look like at all. And I was like, but this is what you said. And he's like, no. So that just goes to show that we all have our own unique way of sitting down at the keys and typing something out and saying what one person would say one way, we can say another way. But I think what really matters is not what you say. The words on the page do not matter. I think what matters is the emotion that you communicate. Just like we were talking about, you can say this apple is red, or you can say, give me that red apple. Or at the end of the day, you kind of get the message across. And if you take it out of this how to write copy, and the technical aspects, and you make it about those big emotions and transmitting those to your reader, I think that should be the main goal for everybody.
Yeah, and that's a really amazing distinction that you made just there. You know, we're talking about how copy should look and whether an experienced expert thinks it has a chance or not. But the reality is, it's about the emotions, and quite often the person reading the copy is not in that target market. So if I've seen it at seminars where they show 2 ads for carpet cleaning, and they ask the crowd, which headline performed better, and the only person who got a chance of getting it right is somebody who needs carpet cleaning at that particular moment. So it's impossible to go by look or feel, but it's that emotion that you're talking about there, and that's where that's the important parts where the stuff you've been talking about today really comes through.
Yeah, I think it's so huge. I think it's so huge that it's kind of like my soapbox that I stand on is quit asking me how to do anything. Start asking, how do I communicate this emotion, or how do I rile up? And that's the thing too, because everyone's I think another huge knowledge gap is people will read Cialdini's Influence, right? And they'll have all these bright ideas for mind control. And then, they'll read about the example of the monks handing out flowers at the airport to spark reciprocity. And they're like, how the hell do I do that in a sales letter? Right?
As you might have noticed, I've attached a flower to the top of this sales letter. I've come to good, very good read.
Yeah. Dear reader, take a look at this flower. It's for you.
Yeah, no, that's true. This is a problem with people. A lot of people teaching copy now, and they just rely solely on templates. I have lower level templates as a product, but people like my copy mentors it's always been about the emotion, about what the results of what we say in the copy are, not specifically what the copy actually says. So it's all about
Right.
dominant emotion.
Yeah, and we should, and not to, we're not here poo-pooing all over templates or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I laid out a template at the very start of this call, headline, lead, body, like template, you need them. They're the skeleton, but the emotions are the meat on the bone.
Yeah. That's the difference between, average copy, which might succeed, based on a brand. Like I've written for a few big brand marketers recently, and you could pretty much send them any old copy and their customers would buy, versus copy like what you get out of Agora Financial, where the it's not so much the brand recognition, the power of the emotions in your copy that it's why you've written all this money, millions of dollars in sales, using this method.
Right. I think for people who don't know exactly what Agora is, it's just this word out there on the internet. But basically, we sell these financial newsletters. So that in itself is a challenge, and that nobody wakes up and thinks, man, I really want to buy a newsletter subscription, right? So that's one challenge. And the other challenge is, like you said, we don't have big brand recognition. We're most famous with copywriters, right? So not even people looking for financial publishing. So and our gurus are generally guys who worked on, and when I say gurus, our editors, right? The guys who we have a newsletter for this guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. Yeah. And they're generally guys off of Wall Street who know their stuff. But again, they're not, we only have a couple, I'd say, household names at Agora Financial where you can lean on that name and that reputation. And again, we have to create that credibility, and we have to create that excitement around basically a regular guy trying to sell you a monthly email. Right. Yeah. and that's why Agora, I think, has gotten its reputation for being very, powerful at copy, because that's hard, man. How do you make a stranger want that?
And it's within the financial industry's regulations as well. So you can't make all the claims that you'd want to, and that sort of stuff. There's a lot of red tape.
That's another cool thing, another point where beginner copywriters, there's a couple things that I see on repeat. One is I don't have any experience, which is bull malarkey. If you've ever sold baseball cards at your school or something, if you ever Gary Vee, if you ever hustled, if you ever did an SEO blog post, you have experience. Okay. The other thing I see is how much of this can I make up? Where am I crossing the line when I start making stuff up? And I'm you're always crossing the line if you make anything up. It has to be backed with research. Yeah.
True.
and we still have to work within those parameters of SEC regulations and legal compliance, and there are a lot of boxes that we have to work inside of.
So I'm excited to keep going down this path as well. I mean, after I heard you on the Agora call, I went and checked out your website. I grabbed your book while I was there as well. So and that's amazing. I've got that book next to me when I'm writing promos now. So I'm on the screen anyway, because it's an ebook version, obviously. But what is your
video? You see me. You see my face turning red right now. That's awesome. That's really cool to hear that. That's so humbling or honor. I don't know. That's just cool, man. Thanks for saying that.
That's cool, because I really enjoyed hearing about this. A lot of the same stuff you've talked about in this call when I was on that Agora call, and I sometimes miss those if I have to, but I'm glad I caught that one. So what's your website where people can check all that stuff out?
Yeah, it's kylethewriter.com.
kylethewriter.com. So I'll chuck up a link to that on the site as well. If you're listening on iTunes, let's go to kylethewriter.com. All the info's there. The book, there's a link to the book there, something. But yeah, it's well worth checking out because I think you have a fresh approach to learning copy. I think without much specific copy experience, you sort of came in with fresh eyes and without a lot of the BS and baggage that a lot of copywriters come in with. So, and I guess that's a good thing about that is, you can sort of just see in black and white what works, and obviously it does for you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that might be a good way to look at it. I've never thought of it like that. But yeah, I basically maybe coming in with no experience was my advantage. That was my edge.
Yeah, because a lot of us grow up with the standard how-to stuff, which works to an extent, but we get weighed down with a lot of baggage, which we'll never use and probably holds us back anyway. So that's why I'm interested to start to really test what you've been talking about in today's call. So thanks for that. Yeah, everyone on the call, if you're listening on iTunes, go to kylethewriter.com. It's got a lot of info and stuff there. You can get his book as well if you want to. And yeah, I thank you for coming on the call, Kyle. It's been very valuable, and I'm sure there's some big dollar signs in this call for a lot of people.
Nice. I really appreciate you having me on. This has been really great, and just love spreading the gospel, right?
Yeah. You keep spreading it, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Peace out, Copy Squad.
Thank you for listening to Geniuses of Copywriting with Brian Casangina. To get the full transcript and all the resources mentioned on today's show, go to www.geniusesofcopywriting.com now.